How do you mean?
Sorry. Oh, well, I just... Even sometimes when I meet up with a friend, I'll go over a few things that I meant.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I hate missing stuff when you see them. Don't you find?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd been more like that. Weirdly, that's one thing I like about social media, is that when you catch up with an old friend, they vaguely know how you're doing.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's a real weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
Because I know you don't have social media, but if I didn't have social media, the idea of seeing an old friend who hasn't seen me for a year, has no idea what I'm up to, and I'm like, where do I even start? I mean, I don't even know how to comprehend telling you about the last year.
Yeah,
But if you've been vaguely keeping up with my Instagram stories, you've got a vague idea of what's going on, you know, and that just and also it means I don't have to meet certain people. I'm like, you get it, you know.
You can keep it as a what do you call it? A parasocial relationship.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice just keeping like a lot of parasocial relationships going.
I've got a lot of parasocial. I remember I invited a guy to a barbecue that I was having.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was out of town.
Oh, nice.
But I wanted to get the credit for the invite.
That's a dream scenario.
Yeah.
Would you not have wanted to come to the barbecue?
No, but I like knew that he was out of town.
Yeah.
Because I Googled his...
Well, it's an easy win.
Yeah.
You should. That's a great way of doing it, is that you should keep really up to date with where people are and then just keep inviting them when they're out of town.
Exactly. Well, you can if they have a tour schedule.
Yeah.
You can just Google them.
That's the thing with comedians. You can always just find out when they're out the country.
He's in Perth this week, so I'll give you, because then you've kept the relationship. You want it kind of alive for some reason, like on life support.
But then if you've invited them 5 or 6 times and they've been out of the country, then suddenly they feel an immense amount of guilt.
Yeah.
You know, because they also feel, it feels like they owe you.
Which you then can use.
Yeah, exactly. So in many ways they're in your debt, because you'd feel awful, wouldn't you, if someone keeps... Because then they'd say like, oh no, I do want to hang out with Dan, but he probably thinks I hate him because he probably thinks I'm making up that I'm always out of the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas it's the opposite of the case.
Yeah, totally.
You know fully that he's out of the country. It's the only reason you've messaged him is he's out of the country.
Yeah, you're just getting that extra credit.
You know, but you don't have any social media, do you?
No. I think I have like some phantom account that I can't get rid of. There's like, I find there's a lot of digital weirdness out there where like, do you know what I mean? You've got an account that you can't quite close.
Yeah.
Like you've tried,
Ghosts.
but they won't let you.
It feels like
digital ghosts.
It's like an apparition. It's sort of like,
I remember
haunts you.
Yeah, there's a lot of digital ghosts. Like I remember on Facebook having like a group and like it just was dormant for ages.
A Facebook group?
Yeah, like, you know, just a Facebook group of friends or whatever. And
what was the setup for the group? What was the premise?
It was just people that were kind of in this group of people that would hang out and play music or whatever.
Oh no, so it was music-based friends.
Yeah, and I remember it just lay dormant, and then suddenly all these people from like Southeast Asia started like swarming the group, and it became...
Oh, it was a public group?
Yeah. Well, no, it was a closed group. It didn't make sense, but basically everyone had different symbols in their name, and it exploded. Like there was thousands of people with like Vietnamese names in the group. And, but there's no way to explain, like you can't go to a private detective and be like, what's happened here?
No.
It's just digital weirdness.
Yeah, that is just digital weirdness.
Have you had examples like that?
I guess what I have is that I've had a lot of like Facebook groups I've set up with creative collectives throughout my life that I've set up that like are disbanded because I'll meet 3 people. I'm like, we're going to be the people that I'm create with constantly, and then 2 years go past and I'm like, this is not it. And then I meet another 3 people and it's like, this is going to be my creative crew. And so there's just like a litany of these old production companies that I've set up, put images, made a big deal, and then there's nothing on them.
Yeah, that's exactly what this was.
There's still people for some reason joining it, even though it hasn't posted anything for 2014.
Yeah.
And there's a horrible feeling of like uncanniness when you see old group that hasn't posted for for 8 years.
It's terrifying.
It feels like this shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
It sort of feels like you're walking through like old ruins, and that is that feeling of like time passing that.
Yeah, it's the digital equivalent of walking through like the rubble of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, exactly. There's a real feeling of like time passing.
That's what it is. It's uncanny, these uncanny feelings that it triggers.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like a WhatsApp group that disbands.
Yeah.
It was going to be a thing. It was taking off. It was like a movie meetup group.
Yeah, well, it's weird. It's like you want you want sort of digital archivists who keep stuff that's relevant and of historical value, because the problem with the past is we don't have enough of the stuff. Like we've got only small amounts of ruins of stuff we'd love more.
Yeah.
But the problem with the digital stuff is we've got everything forever. Nothing's disappearing.
There's too much.
But what happens in 3,000 years?
Yeah.
Will that Facebook group still exist?
That's a good question.
Does it all get wiped? You know, how long will these stay on? Will they have to keep some of them for historical records of the way people used to live?
Or do they just go, we need... You know, it's always confusing when they're like, we've run out of storage for this data.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How? You know what I mean? I don't understand it. It's this ethereal thing. It's like a ghost saying there's no more room in the hotel for other ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, are they actually... I never understand that when it's like it takes up room on the server or whatever.
In the cloud.
Yeah. Or even
but they must do so. It can't just be... Is it just electricity?
Yeah, it's like...
Is it just vibes?
Is it a vibe?
It's just a vibe-based
because when I get
system.
charged, $3,000 for going off roaming in Phuket or whatever.
Yeah, that always pisses me off.
Yeah, is that like I'm getting charged for using more ghosts? Yeah. Or I used a ghost in another area?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the rationale.
Well, it's more like I think it's more like a punishment. It's more of a fine of like, the only way we can make money is trapping people.
Yeah.
You've been caught.
You tried to have fun in Portugal.
Yeah, there's rules here.
Don't stream Game of Thrones on the bullet train. You know? That's the kind of lesson that you get from it. But yeah, it's just bizarre. That really pisses me off when a company is fucking you that way.
Yeah, also, why are we paying for 4G? Or should there not be... What? How much do we have to pay people to keep 4G going? Yeah. There's the towers. There's probably a couple of people who work there. But it feels like it should be unlimited 4G. Yeah. Surely.
Well, yeah, it's like we've got billions of ghosts here and there's more coming in and we've got enough room for infinity ghosts.
But then it's acting like it's a finite resource.
Yeah, it's acting like ghosts can only be one to a room.
Well, that should be nationalised, I feel. Yeah. Like, that's something that would just make... Because it's being finite resource because they're trying to make money, but it feels like that should be like...
I would like when people freak out about the New World Order. Yeah. You know that? Like people talk about the Great Reset or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, let's reset. Yeah. Like I'm for it. Like whatever. Like
what do people... is the Great Reset, is that normally right-wing people?
Is it?
Is it?
Well, maybe it's doomsday prep type people, right?
But is doomsday prep, is that what political leanings, or is that sort of...
Yeah, I doubt
that that's apolitical?
I feel like it's far right.
Because there's nearly always Great Reset is let's go back to the 50s.
Yeah, I feel... it's... I guess maybe the New World Order is the one. I want... No, because they act like there's a New World Order.
Well, the New World Order often has anti-Semitic undertones.
But I'm like, bring that on. Like, I want the barcode on my neck or whatever to log in to everything. Like, do you know what? I want the same currency everywhere.
Yeah, completely globalised.
Because then you wouldn't have to change a SIM card over.
Yeah, that's true. I guess...
it's just convenience.
It's you can find that balance of convenience, because there is something... You don't want everything to look like a McDonald's car park. That is the problem.
Really?
Would you want the whole... I
like it. I kind of... I like the way every piece... Like, now you go to anywhere in any country, it could be anywhere, because there's a McDonald's in the background.
I'd say that's probably the thing that haunts me the most about modern life.
Really?
And that's probably my biggest, thing I'm scared about happening in the UK, is that it becomes a sort of non-place, where it becomes a shopping mall, or a place that could be anywhere.
A liminal space.
Yeah, that terrifies me. I like the idea of a shared currency. I feel like that's not that culturally relevant, what currency you use. Right. I think everyone should have the same adapters for chargers. Yeah. Same SIM cards. All of that, I think, globalised the fuck out of it. But then I'd want to really localise everything else. Because it's just, otherwise there's no point in travelling.
No, that's what I like about it.
You don't like travelling, though.
As soon as I travel anywhere, I just want to recreate what I do at home. Yeah. So going to McDonald's is like a safe space.
Yeah. So, but
some of my best experiences overseas have been in McDonald's.
Really?
I think, just...
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, so we did the Edinburgh Fringe together. That's where we met. Dan Rath, a fantastic stand-up comedian who doesn't fully exist because you're not online. So you're sort of like... In many ways, you are like a ghost because you're not online.
Which is ironic because I only exist in the physical form.
That's what I find fascinating, is like, I stumbled across you through word of mouth, through whispers.
Through digital whispers.
Well, no, through real people whispering to me.
Analog whispering.
Analog whispering. Most of the time when I find a comedian I like, their stand-up clips will come into my algorithm. I'll find their page. I'll look at their podcast. This guy's really funny. You've got to check out this guy. But then you have a sort of mythic status because you're not online. So only a couple of comedians will be, oh, Dan Rath's great. You really like Dan Rath. And they'll tell your premises, but it's all like Chinese whispers. As
a result, you only often have very few people.
Like I've had people repeat your premises differently to me, and that's kind of doing the same as putting out stand-up clips.
Oh, that's
but you
good.
don't put out stand-up clips, but you've got just a couple of comedians. You've got a couple of comedians who are just kind of badly doing your bits to you.
Well, that's good. Well, because like in the clips, there's not.
It's like the medieval algorithm.
Laughs. Yeah.
It's like the algorithm back in the Middle Ages. It's word of mouth.
Yeah. I could just operate as a town crier.
Yeah.
And by town crier, I mean someone who weeps publicly.
Yeah.
in the town square.
Yeah. Everyone knows about you. Word would spread.
You weep publicly.
Have you seen that town crier?
Yeah. Well, I noticed anything that I've filmed, there's very few laughs. So like I hope that it can work without laughter. Do you know what I mean? Like I hope that even in the vacuum of laughter, someone goes, that's interesting.
That's how it could. But I think the reason why I liked your stuff is I feel we have quite a similar view of comedy, where we're just so obsessed about the premise, or like so obsessed about the idea.
Yeah.
I find an idea so funny, I want to share it. I don't really care about people know about my life. I don't care that much about even performance. Like I do it because it helps, but I'm all about the purity of that's a funny idea. I want to share it.
Yeah.
Even more so than I want to tell it.
Yeah, I think it's just the anxiety of the performance, maybe.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like the performance side of it. It's not. I meet comedians who like just live for the attention and like the valid. Like, I'm sort of take or leave it. I don't need that too much. But I just want to get some of these ideas out because I think they're really funny.
It's more the things that you need to do it. Like I need like it's like I call it neurotic choreography, which is like you need a certain amount of this and that as a cocktail to do it.
What do you mean?
Like Red Bull, red wine.
Really? Red Bull, red wine?
Like 2 litres of water.
Is that what you need to perform?
Yeah, and then I need to pee in a bottle before I go on. Like it's like there's this...
Is that your ritual?
Yeah.
That's such a terrible ritual.
It's awful for the heart. The heart is crying.
Well, yeah, because it's about building habits. That's an awful habit. You just built terrible habits.
That's an awful habit.
Those are awful habits.
It takes years off your life.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's stressful. I do think caffeine's good though for it. I don't think being tired and nervous is not a good combination.
I don't know, because I find I get so caffeinated. The adrenaline is my caffeine when I'm on stage.
It's the adrenaline is enough.
Yeah.
See, I don't have enough natural adrenaline.
So you need to
outsource. I feel like, you know how people get hair transplants?
Yeah.
I wish you could get a dopamine receptor transplant.
Yeah. Because I would go to Turkey.
And just get new dopamine receptors.
So all of these depressed... So you know how there's... Have you seen those pictures of people coming back from Turkey on the plane?
Are they smiling?
Well, no, it's more like it's people coming back and it's just loads of English bald men with like bandages on their head. So people are video like a plane back from Turkey and it's just a row.
Is it? It's funny.
Just a row of like quite sheepish looking men, all with plasters all over their heads, you know.
Yeah.
So you want a thing where you go to Turkey miserable and you come back beaming smiles.
I'd be beaming. I'd get both. I'd get the hair transplant and the dopamine receptors.
Yeah. Well, I find my dopamine. I think I've definitely got some sort of ADHD. Something. I don't think it actually matters that much what you've got. I think, to be honest, there's like you talk about autism on stage, but in my head, I'm like, it's so unclear what these mean anymore because everything's getting so overdiagnosed.
It's like astrology.
Yeah,
it really is. It's like I'm a Libra. It's the same thing. It's just there's no difference between being a Scorpio and an ADHD.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's the same rationale. It's like, oh, sorry, I'm a Scorpio.
It's like your horoscope for that day. Yeah. If you're ADHD, this means that you have this is why you feel like this. ADHDs deal with autumn like this.
Yeah.
You know, are you compatible in a relationship? You know, ADHD, autism.
It's to me, it's the, I mean, psychiatrists are like the star sign readers of today.
I think,
but they're cloaked
in
science.
We have 3 categories: normal, a bit off, and Down syndrome.
Yeah,
or like whatever Down syndrome is.
Yeah, it should be.
It's like
3 categories.
Yeah, it's like normal, functioning fine, functions, but is a bit off and weird.
Yeah,
so we're in function 2, and then it's debilitated mental disability.
Yeah, because otherwise it's a choose your own adventure of idiosyncratic ailments.
But it's more like if you've got ADHD and you've got autism or stuff, you should just you're all vaguely in the same, like it's all touching the same sort of symptoms.
Yeah,
like I'm diagnosed dyspraxic, but then I have so many ADHD symptoms that it's like all the advice of ADHD I can take.
Well, what about just being a weirdo with no diagnoses?
Well,
can that be a thing? You're just like, imagine that, someone who's just a complete weirdo, but they're not diagnosed. Do you know what I mean? They're like, no,
I'm actually obsessed with this because we talked about this on the Patreon a couple of weeks ago. I'm also interested in intelligence. Like, who's the thickest person alive who doesn't have learning difficulties?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the liminal space of disability.
Because like, what level of brain power? Because it feels like if you have any sort of, you're slow with certain things, it's normally always, they're not stupid. They've got dyslexia. They've got dyscalculia. It's always like, their brain just works in a different way. Is there anyone who doesn't have any learning difficulties? It is just their brain's just bad.
Yeah.
Or does it by definition? Because at some point your lowness IQ
it's a spectrum.
Has to be. If you have a low enough IQ, then it has to be a disability at some point.
Yeah, you don't want to be flirting with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Like you're 1 point above, so you still have to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Like that sucks.
No, that's the worst thing ever. Because as soon as you get into like disability territory, then it's like, you've got disability. You should respect that.
The most sympathy should be reserved for people that are on the borderline. They're in the demilitarized zone of
purgatory,
a disorder. Yeah, they're in ailment limbo, condemned to kind of just be in this ambivalent space where there's no sympathy coming in. So you've got no sympathy fuel, no victim,
no one cares.
No victim fuel, no victim
points,
no points.
Yeah.
Can't even.
There's not because it's sort of a currency as your victim points. You got nothing.
You can't monetize it. You
can't monetize being a bit thick.
Yeah. Well, there's just, in fact, you're a figure for ridicule.
Yeah.
You're actually the only acceptable. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's the last taboo.
Yeah.
Is traditional stupidity.
Well, yeah, you're probably you're gonna be kind of a pariah.
Yeah.
Like you're going to block cues and just be confused in interactions.
You're just praying that the level of what makes disability keeps growing so that you finally get enveloped and you're in the safe zone.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And then you're in, Well, I think that's really, we're not speaking about these people.
No, these are the people we need to talk about. This is what this podcast is about. That's what this is about, representing. But yes, it was... I came to see your show, loved it very much, but it was funny. It's just quite unique having someone who you only hear about through word of mouth. Still, did you enjoy your Edinburgh experience? Because you've been here for a month, and then you were spending a week here in London straight after Edinburgh.
I just find that there's so many shows.
Yeah.
That you can have choice paralysis over which Harry Potter improv troupe to see. You know, like it's a unique place.
Yeah.
Like you have to dodge a juggler to get a coffee.
There's no more Harry Potter improvised musicals in a square mile anywhere else in the world.
Exactly.
And that's why it's
They're all there. You're like, should I see Spontaneous Potter? Should I see Barry Potter? and like, it's funny because...
Do you end up not seeing any Potters?
Well, yeah, I just
end up... You got paralysed?
I end up just watching televised comedy in my room. During the biggest like live comedy festival.
Well, the best thing I saw at Edinburgh Fringe was Mission Impossible, the new Mission Impossible. We all went to watch that, and that was my pick of the Fringe. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that should be the real pick of the Fringe. Just movies that you saw in neighbouring towns. You can put a sticker on the movie.
And the year before...
That'd be funny to put stars on the movie posters.
Scotsman, 4 stars. Fringe biscuit. The year before, me and Paddy went out to Leith, which is not even in Edinburgh, to watch Top Gun. My pick of Fringe again. It was Tom Cruise has been my star of the Fringe 2 years running.
It's interesting you pick action movies because for me, that's what really balances out the improv Harry Potter vibe.
Yeah, you have to an antidote.
Like I need whatever the polar opposite of a juggler on stilts doing improv with a Belgium acrobat is.
Yeah. I think Tom Cruise really doesn't fit into Edinburgh at all.
Exactly. I need someone who doesn't fit into the mould.
You can't see Tom Cruise at a free Fringe show.
Exactly.
Sitting there. But then I
don't want to see any cobblestones for a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just for an hour.
Yeah, I don't want anything quaint.
No medieval.
It's nice to have a feeling that there's nothing wholesome or quaint about it.
I want to see a guy put gangsters in a chokehold in a nightclub.
Yeah.
Where rain. I'm just describing John Wick. But I just want to see something that's so counterbalanced.
Well, yeah, but just on the Harry Potter thing, do you find it weird? So J.K. Rowling started writing Harry Potter in Edinburgh. And it's the cafe's right in the centre. It's near where you worked every day. How do you think it would be nice to be sort of like in A Christmas Carol where you show the gross, you take her through the future, like the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Right.
And you take her to all the improvised Harry Potter musicals.
Yes.
And that's all you show her. How do you think J.K. would respond if you take her in the same, just literally a couple of 100 meters away from where she started writing Harry Potter, and you showed this is what you've just started writing the beginning ideas, and you're like, whoa. So you had the first idea. There's a kid, he goes to this wizarding school, he's called Harry Potter, and then you just zoom it forward and then you show it, you take her on a tour through all the improvised Harry Potter musicals.
That's a great thought experiment. It's kind of, do you know what it is? It's like what you've described is almost the opposite of Shakespeare. Because obviously, I know Shakespeare's good, but I'm not going to read any of it.
No.
But I do like the influence he had on other stuff.
Yeah.
Succession is sort of the Harry Potter improv troupe of J.K. Rowling. Do you know what I'm saying? Succession is the ghost of Shakespeare's past.
Well, Harry Potter is the ghost of... Shakespeare's the ghost of Harry Potter's past in some ways. So it's a...
Yeah.
Do you think culture will move to the point where Shakespeare will be like the Odyssey? Like ancient Greek?
Yeah.
And Harry Potter will be like Shakespeare?
I'm not sure.
Do you think Harry Potter can have the effect that Shakespeare has?
Yeah, I think,
because as culture gets more and more trashy, do you not think that...
Well, it's funny because the improv troupes that are doing Harry Potter probably hate J.K. Rowling the most in the world.
Yeah.
Which I find funny because they would say that she's worse than Hitler.
Definitely.
But then they're in the Mein Kampf book club.
Yeah.
They'll
be in the Mein Kampf book club saying it was still a very important book for me growing up.
Yeah, exactly. But the guy that wrote it was, I think, has kind of veered off course.
I wonder if you could separate the art from the artist.
I liked it when he was just fervently anti-Semitic. But having followed through with it, I had to distance myself. But I still enjoy the original text.
Yeah.
And we do improvise around it and do readings and try and interpret the stuff.
I mean, I have a bit about J.K. Rowling, but I do have a respect for her. I love the way that she carefully built this world that perfectly attracted the exact kind of people who would hate her views that she'd have later on. She perfectly crafted this world.
That's fascinating.
Brick by brick, she built this kind of beautiful, magical wonderland where anyone who felt like a misfit could sort of disappear into. And all the young girls who maybe at school were getting rejected, felt weird, would come home and they'd disappear and escape into this wonderful world she'd built. And now she's finished it. She's just brick by brick destroying it.
Yeah.
And this kind of safe house that she'd built where she's it's sort of like when a terrorist attack, when they're trying to get as many people into one place as possible.
Yeah,
She's built this thing where she's trying to get as many vulnerable misfits into one place as possible. And now she's just taking it down brick by brick.
It's like if ISIS put on a farmer's market. And then all these really nice, wholesome people came with the puffer vests and the cardboard box full of heirloom tomatoes, and then they got them all together and just blew the place up.
Yeah.
That's what she's done with their imagination.
And you can't help but respect it. There's something like majestic about it.
Well, I think because it's such a magical world, that's what is experienced as the biggest betrayal.
Yeah.
Because when it's magic, it's like you're deeply ensconced in your imagination. So it's such... Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like she was writing like international crime thrillers.
No, she is now, but...
Yeah. She's pivoted to James Patterson territory, to Ian Rankin. She's going to be on the bookshelf with Ian Rankin at the Holiday House.
Have you seen... Because you're a big fan of airplane literature, aren't you? Or like the genre of airplane books.
Yeah, I think it's the highest form.
The highest form. I don't read, and it's the big thing I want to change. But do you know anything about the James Patterson Bill Clinton collabs?
No,
because he's done two collabs. He's done James Patterson's done a collab with Bill Clinton, where it's called like "The President Is Missing," and he's done a collab with Dolly Parton about.
I don't like when stuff's like ghostwritten and collabed. It just.
But is James Patterson and Bill Clinton, are they spitballing ideas?
I think it'd be like Prince Harry and with his ghostwriter.
Oh, so he's sort of ghostwriting because it's a presidential thriller. But I guess it's more like he's like a consultant.
I think it'd be him writing it all and then going, "Do you mind if I put your name on this?" No, that's honestly, I honestly can't imagine.
But it's just so like, you were the president of the United States. Why do you want your name on a crime thriller? Yeah,
to me, those books, I just don't, any kind of crime, Ian Rankin, whatever, I can't get into it, you know?
My problem with reading is that I probably have quite similar taste to you, where I like a lot of non-fiction, or I like big things that feel like it's worthwhile. Like I struggle with things that are just like entertainment.
Yeah.
So I'm reading a summer thriller at the moment called American Dirt. I'm about 4 pages in, which is like a thriller from start to finish. But I don't think I'm going to learn anything about the human condition. I don't think I'm going to have anything that I can apply to my real life. It's more like an entertainment book. Yeah. But that's what my reading level is, that of someone who can't understand big ideas. But then my interest is only big ideas. So I'm sort of stuck where the only things I want to read are things that are too complicated for me to read.
Yeah, well, it is true that, if a book is just like purely for enjoyment, it's harder for some reason.
But I can't, if you love reading books, I can understand. Like my sister reads loads of books, so she reads books for entertainment. But I'm like, for me, a book will never be entertainment because it's so hard for me to read.
Yeah.
But then the only books that seem to be of value to me are the books that are really complicated. But then I'm so shit at reading, I can't read these complicated books.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shit at reading too. I just reread the same page.
Oh yeah, constantly.
I also like use a pencil to underline it.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
But then when I lend a book to someone, it's weird.
You look like a scrawling as a madman.
Yeah, because they'll be like, you just underline the word "the." Like it won't be a key word. It'll just be like an adverb or something, and it'll be the only word on the page. But it's literally because it's not because the word "the" was triggered me. It was because I was trying to keep myself present.
Yeah.
So like anytime
you pinch yourself.
Yeah, anytime I underline, that's like my way of when the monk hits you with the stick. Yeah. To make sure you're back on.
Yeah. It's just constantly.
It's my stick, but I hit the book with it.
Highlighting adverbs.
Yeah. So there's no right. It's not because that passage meant anything to me.
Yeah. Did you have a good Edinburgh? Did you enjoy the experience?
I don't enjoy it. No. I mean, it's just it's too much stimulus for me.
Yeah.
It's just too. It's because I'm traveling as well.
Yeah.
There's often a lot of drama going on to do with that.
Yeah.
To do with like SIM cards, getting locked out of bank accounts.
So you're living in a James Patterson novel.
I'm living, yeah. I feel like a spy. Like I'm using a pin to get the SIM card out so that I can replace a UK SIM. I'm like trying to contact Jeff Bezos on his direct email address.
There's no way you can speak to him. I've got 5 minutes.
I'm yelling at what I think are chatbots, but it might be Filipinos.
You're living in the Truman Show as well.
I am, and like I'm getting disconnected. I'm like I'll do the gig and then phone a bank in Australia. I'll have to use an app to make an international
You've
call.
got 4 different passports.
4 different passports.
Only one of them's yours.
One of them's mine. The
None
rest,
of them are yours.
The rest are mementos. and I'm just in this I call it's an administrative K-hole.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to do ketamine. I can just do like 7 hours of admin and lose my mind and like just get into a full whirlpool of just like abusing customer service representatives, like crying while they play Fleetwood Mac on the hold music, and then just fantasizing about jumping out of the window and blaming it on them.
Yeah.
That's my fantasy, is to just jump out of the window and just splatter it, but have a note saying, "This is for you, Jeff."
Yeah. So Jeff's getting it.
Well, he might get it
because I feel Jeff wouldn't care. Is my problem.
No, he might not. Maybe it's good
middle managers.
Blame it on a local bank.
yeah.
Think local.
You've got to
local.
think, because the customer service people, they're sort of foot soldiers. They don't really. You kind of want that middle manager.
Yeah.
But it's a losing game with the anger you feel being put on hold by customer service, the undignifying feelings. You know.
I would be okay with it if it was fair.
But it's
they
like,
shuttle you
there's
along.
There's no way to get closure. There's no way to get revenge. That's what's so... There's no like... Because you were talking about like John Wick, like revenge thrillers.
Exactly.
It's like it'd be a great revenge thriller getting back at the people who put you on hold for 4 hours.
Well, that's why you watch it.
Yeah.
During the festival. Because you imagine their face on the guy that is kicking.
But there's just no recourse for that. There is no way to get revenge.
Yeah, there's no revenge. It's so coldly impersonal.
Yeah, and it's built into this thing that there's like... It's sort of like there's no way that you can punish them for what they've done.
It's an obstacle course of chatbots and humans. And you're doing the Turing test at every level of it. Of this like protracted, just continual shuttling along to different departments.
And then they ask you, they have the cheek to ask you if you're a robot.
Yeah.
Do you have that? When you're getting caught in that, and then you're begging for a human, and then a robot asks you if you're a human.
That's the indignity.
Yeah. And then they make the test so hard that it's really hard to prove you're a human.
Yeah, exactly.
Which just adds
it's actually really hard.
It's getting so much harder.
Have you done the 8 puzzles?
Yeah.
It's like 8 in a row, and you're like, I can't see that.
This is yeah. You feel like a robot.
I would actually...
You question your own humanity.
I would hire a robot to help me do those tests. Don't you think? Like, just to be like, is that a stop sign? I can't tell.
Yeah, and then why is it like slightly into another grid? It's like, why are you making it so... Like, I feel like that's
what I'm saying about the New World Order thing.
Even is.
Put a barcode on my forehead and just scan me in. That's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean?
Beam me up. Yeah.
Like, I can't remember these passwords.
Yeah.
I have about 18 different passwords. They're all different.
Well, did you not use the same genesis of your password?
I know I tried to, but it got out of hand.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with the passcode, is that you have your base level passcode, and then there'll be a new thing, which is for security, you have to now add 2 special characters.
Exactly.
So you have the base of your password plus like a hyphen.
Yeah.
But then they'll have to ask, a couple of things will ask different ones. It needs to be 10 characters. So everything's this variation.
I had to add a swastika to my keypad just to get an extra character in, because I was running out of characters. So now it just... And I make all my passwords really rude just so I can remember. But then that doesn't even work, because it's like fuck with a F and then a bracket.
Yeah, and a swastika.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm like, I can't remember if it's swastika fuck or if it's fuck swastika.
Swastika.
Yeah. And so it's just this arms race with passwords, and it kind of reminds me of like the first password you have is like the first strain of COVID.
Yeah.
And then each time you forget it, it mutates.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're dealing with Delta. The Delta strain, like, so I'm on the Delta strain for my Amazon password, but I'm still on whatever the Omicron for my ANZ. They're in various stages of development. So I can't keep a track on the viral progression of the passwords as they continue to mutate and cause me... I'd rather have long COVID than have to remember these passwords.
You'd rather the brain fog of reality than having to remain...
Well, what's the difference between brain fog and modern life?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know? I can't...
It's so indistinguishable what people have got, but everyone assumes what they've got is... They want to try and...
Attribute
when it's
it.
just It's just the general malaise.
Well, I've got Lyme's disease and long COVID, so it's hard to tell which is which because they're the same thing. Because I got bitten by a tick in the CBD, which was just absurd.
Did you?
Yeah. Just where The Matrix was filmed in Sydney. You know that scene where he's walking through the city with Morpheus? Yeah. I was just around there on a park bench.
Yeah.
And I got bitten by a tick.
And it gave you Lyme's disease?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure my life has changed drastically since then. Doctors in Australia deny that it's a thing.
Did it feel like you were in the Matrix then?
A little bit.
Maybe that was the glitch. It was like something from the real world came through, and now you're.
Oh right, yeah, I see what you mean. Like
and
the tick.
Well, you've almost taken the red pill when that bite happened.
So the tick is the red pill.
Yeah, yeah. You've been bitten, and now you see reality for what it is, or like you're getting clues coming in.
That's one of the clues.
Yeah.
It's like that theory, I don't know if you've heard, the guy that said 9/11 when the planes hit the buildings, that was actually reality. That was actually fiction seeping into reality. It opened up a portal.
Oh, so it was like fan fiction.
No, I think he's just insane. But I think I just like the metaphor of it.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, because like all the Hollywood movies that predicted like these terrorist attacks, it's like the fiction of those movies from the 90s.
Well, it's the most cinematic terrorist attack of all time. Like it's aesthetically unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like it is Michael Bay level. You'd watch that and be like, oh great, like a silly film about a plane flying into the Twin Towers and knocking, and no way they fall like that, like perfectly. Like it is just, it's like unbelievably cinematic.
It's like when a comedian watches Boris Johnson, they're like, it's I can't compete.
Yeah, you can't compete with this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
Yeah. I've talked about this on the podcast, but I'm so obsessed with the George Bush did 9/11 theory.
Yeah.
I really want to, people who believe that, I just want to know, like, how do you think he pitched it? How did George Bush pitch doing 9/11?
Yeah.
What was his... Like, how did he lay out? Like, that's such a bold idea to bring to the table.
It is.
And I feel if I was George Bush, I'd be really nervous, because what if they didn't agree? Like, I feel there's a lot of backlash that could happen.
It's a big gamble to be like...
It's a huge gamble.
You'd have to posit it as a hypothetical first and then see if anyone was into it.
But it makes George Bush, like, the greatest gambler of all time. Yeah. Or like it makes him like the biggest risk taker ever, and I just don't see that in the way he's ever acted outside of that.
Yeah, it's incongruous.
Because the theory is that he was doing it so that he could respond to it, and then it would give him enough public support to win the next election.
Yeah.
That's sort of the theory.
Yeah.
That George Bush did 9/11 so that there'd be a huge disaster that he could be the strong man in front of, and that would build up support for his next election.
Yeah.
Which just feels like... That's such a crazy risk to take. There's so many ways that could go wrong.
Yeah, is that the one that they say it's an inside job?
Yeah. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it was an inside job, but the plane started on the outside and ended up inside.
Would you? So
just physically.
So you think is a genuine, like, physically it's an inside job?
Yeah, just like from...
The plane took off from inside.
Yeah. I know. I never get the steel beams and this stuff. I don't understand like buildings.
I'm not
you know when someone's like, it's the steel beams.
It's like you're not an architect either.
I know nothing about. I can't even log into an Airbnb. Like I don't know how a building works.
And it's like maybe jet fuel does melt steel beams. Like when people say that, I don't feel like.
I don't understand anything about anything. I don't even scratch
my head. I'm like, no, it seems like jet fuel could melt steel beams.
I don't understand the Ukraine war. I don't know what's going on.
What do you struggle with the Ukraine war?
Well, I'm just like it's ongoing, isn't it? But it's. Do you know what I mean? It's like
it's more. I'm quite into the Ukraine war because it feels like I was into World War II, and it feels like a battle reenactment or like a fan fiction of World War II. Like it's all the same locations that a lot of it happens.
It's the first war where it's two, like I guess, sort of first world countries, right? Like two modern European countries. So it's the first war where you could get Uber Eats to the trenches. Like there's people in the trenches with trench foot going like, should we get a chicken tikka masala or Like they can bring it to the trenches. It's like when you see someone in a park get an Uber Eats delivery.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
And it's not like a bitchy sort of Cold War sort of proxy. It's like, it's two big powers. It's like, it's happening. It's real.
Yeah. It's the first.
It's not espionage. It's like proper.
Well, Ukraine, they're getting drones that are delivering Amazon packages.
And dropping bombs.
And bombing schools. So it's like, they don't know if it's the textbook for that class that they're doing or if they've got to find a new school. So that's bizarre.
Yeah.
And you to see a McDonald's get blown to smithereens is uncanny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's just like Putin has such an old school mindset where he's like a figure you read about.
Yeah.
But he's happening right now. Like, he shouldn't exist. You shouldn't have a megalomaniac acting the way he is.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen.
Playing Civilization 5 basically in real time. You just feel like we're done with that, you know. And that's what's sort of exciting about it.
Well, yeah, I feel like these what do you call them? Oligarchs? No, autocrats or whatever.
Yeah, oligarchs. Yeah.
I just feel like, wouldn't you you're 70?
Yeah.
Like, you've got like a thyroid problem, I think.
Yeah, that's what's insane.
Like, wouldn't you just want to be like, let's just kind of enjoy
we talked about this on the podcast, because you know how all of these health problems of, like, you know, the American Senate's sort of never been older.
Yeah.
So Joe Biden every other week is falling over in the hardest fall you've ever seen. He's literally like Buster Keaton, just like slipping. Yeah. It's like crazy.
He's like Chevy Chase in SNL.
But I'm just getting every week I'm getting a BBC News notification. Biden falls at this, Biden falls up the stairs, Biden falls down the stairs, Biden falls into a well. It's like getting ridiculous because he's so old and he's so clumsy. But then you're having Mitch McConnell freezing live on air. You seen that?
He got cold?
Well, he just was talking and they went, he just turned off because he's like 89.
Oh, you mean he froze, like metaphorically?
And it's weird how, like, why do these people want to carry on? Why wouldn't you? You're rich, you're powerful, you've achieved a lot in your life. Why wouldn't you chill now?
Yeah.
What is the desire to keep turning up to work and stress out over that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I just think maybe it keeps them alive.
I think so. I think that's what...
Like, I do think there is that thing where you stop and then you get sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that. With the Ukraine war, it feels like it's more like a bit awkward now. And that's what's... The diplomacy's kind of awkward because... Putin's idea was that he was just going to get in there in like 3 weeks, take over the whole thing, and then reassess. But now it's clear that this is going to go on for like ages, and like he doesn't want that, and Ukraine doesn't want it either. But it's like he's too proud to quit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of the Coke Zero of wars. Like, you know, it's like there's no calories. It's war without war, as they say.
Well, it's more like...
It's like decaf.
It's more like, it feels like it's how do you end this war? Because you just kind of, Putin can't leave losing, but he can't win. Because there's just physically he can't win. So the only way to save lives, we got to give him like an easy victory. That's like a fake victory.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we give him like a couple of cities and then he can pretend, because he needs to sell back to the Russian people that he's won no matter what.
Yeah.
Or else this will go on forever.
And it'll just be, it just seems low key.
Yeah.
Like it feels like in the World War II, like the cities were mobilized.
Yeah.
Like people had to stop doing what they were doing.
Yeah. But now people are just going about their daily life.
They're just doing stuff.
And then occasionally a drone strike hits.
Yeah, but then they stop for a bit like it's a fire alarm and then go back in and resume. And that's what's so, you know, like it's like, oh no, we're gonna do al fresco dining. Yeah. We still do al fresco, but just watch out for the debris.
So Dan was in London is in London for a bit after Edinburgh, and you did message me. We were going to hang out, and you invited me to see the Equalizer 3 at Leicester Square IMAX.
Yeah,
which I like that as a concept. Like, so how many times have you been to London?
I've been here a couple of times. Yeah,
but like I do think there's something very powerful about like traveling to like one of the biggest cities in the world, and going straight to the IMAX to watch the Equalizer 3. Yeah, so that you could do anywhere else. Like, I think that's just I think there's something a lot to be respected about that.
Well, yeah, it's like it's kind of that thing. It's like you just want the comfort of you want to recreate what you can do at home.
Yeah, it's so funny though.
Yeah.
Literally, the cinema is the most reproducible atmosphere ever.
It's almost if you woke up in any cinema, you'd have to
no idea.
You take a while to work out which one. If it was your local,
you'd have to go out.
It's the same thing.
Way. You know.
I think I'd be able to tell by whether it had Pepsi or Coke.
That's it. That's literally it.
But I think there's something just it's just you go and do the things they tell you to do. I used to do that.
Yeah.
You Google the thing, they top 10
Top 10 things to do.
You go to the Hermitage.
Yeah.
You do a gondola.
Yeah.
But then you're like, what am I doing? Like, this is, do you know? Like,
I don't, because I don't relate to that part, because for me, it's like, if I'm somewhere else, I will try and do things that only they do.
No, I will try. I have tried to do that.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't worked. Yeah.
No, so you've retreated back to the Equalizer 3.
It's like, I remember just doing stuff that I never wanted to do because you would like feel that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like I used to go to music festivals.
Yeah.
And, you know, the squelch of a gumboot, the distant aroma of a goslamé.
Yeah.
As it kind of felt, you know, like all that stuff. And I'd be like, I think I like this. I think I like the Portaloos.
Well, it's sort of like that feeling when you're trying to work out whether you like theme parks.
Yeah.
Because it's like the whole vibe of a theme park is the most fun place in the world. Like, it's like theme parks, they only exist for fun. Like, fun is the only thing they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Everything's about fun. There's not like fun and a bit of meaning. It's like every single thing in that theme park is trying to build towards you having a great time.
Yeah.
So you feel like it's sort of like you have to be having a great time, or you have to like them once you're there. Because then
there's too much pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like with music festivals and certainly stuff like that, it's like there's just people just do stuff and you just follow on.
Yeah, and I think
it takes a while to realise.
I think it took ages. It's counterintuitively difficult to work out what you like.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like it is actually hard.
Very hard.
Yeah,
it's very hard to know what do I actually feel this way, or am I being told to feel this way, and also what should I be brave and grit my teeth through because it's valuable.
Yeah, because there are things that you should do because
other people do them.
Yeah, there are things where you're like, I'm glad I did this.
Yeah.
But it was against my instinct. You do need to have that amount, you do need to factor that in as well.
And I think sometimes you do need to grow up and have a bad time.
You need to what?
You do need to grow up and just have a bad time.
What, just have bad times? Places?
Yeah, you know, even if you don't like music festivals, sometimes it's like, yeah, all your friends are going. You just need to grow up and
you're glad that you've done them.
Yeah.
That you did do them.
Yeah.
To even know that you didn't like them.
That's important, I think.
Yeah, you need to have those. And it's good, like having those, it's just funny to remember how bad it was.
So when you're heading back to Australia?
In a couple of weeks, I think, yeah.
Where do you live in Australia? Sydney?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Have you been to the UK much?
Yeah. I've been a bunch of times.
And you said that you think you'd maybe struggle to live in the UK because you think with your mindset throwing on the weather might be too much. Like a lot of it's upkept by the sunshine in America. A lot of your mental health.
Yeah, I think
in Australia.
I think it's like weird because say if I was like a really optimistic, like happy-go-lucky person.
Yeah,
I think this would be perfect because the medieval counterbalance.
Do you like that?
Well, no, I think internally, like my soul is porridge.
Do you think?
You know.
So do you think soulfully you're quite suited to the islands, to the UK?
Oh yeah. I think like my spirit animal is like a
porridge.
My spirit animal is a bowl of porridge eating crisps. Basically, if a bowl of porridge could become sentient and eat a bag of crisps, that would be my soul.
Well, it's a weird combination between the UK and Australia. Because Australia is better and then the UK is better. They're better for such different reasons, but we're also the same. Yeah,
the biggest thing I've noticed for me is that that's incredible is that you can go to a Lidl or an Aldi and buy like a New Scientist magazine.
Yeah.
Like they have them on the shelf.
Yeah.
Now, when I'll go to the most prestigious newsagent in Australia and try and find a new scientist, and they'll be like, we've only got lottery tickets and porn.
Yeah.
And so that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That you can go to like the lowest brow supermarket and it's stocked with all the broadsheet newspapers.
Yeah.
So that is huge, and people read in public.
Yeah.
Here.
It's not, you won't get beaten up for reading.
Yeah, it's like there's just like a lot of people were just reading on the train.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's I like that just because there's more access to
culture,
like reading materials and stuff.
Yeah.
You're not having to like travel like 2 hours to get a GQ magazine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I noticed as well is like, because I got heckled a bunch here.
Yeah.
But what was weird is I always thought the audience was against me in those interactions.
In here? Here,
yeah, just because the difference is in Australia, they root for the heckler.
Really?
So they're like, get him.
Yeah.
And then they're like, he's trying to find a loophole from being in the economy.
How do you mean?
Like you're trying to exist outside of like the framework of like...
So why do Australians support the heckler?
Because they're like, you shouldn't be up there. Like you should be at an accounting firm like I am.
Really?
And the gall to do this, like I'm glad they're heckling you and I hope they destroy the show.
Yeah.
And they'll let them destroy the show and
But whereas do you find UK audience, I feel there's a real thing of like breaking social contracts we really don't like here.
Yeah,
so the idea of shouting at a show
that was
like
really
such a heinous crime.
That was a huge revelation to me, that because I got heckled a bunch, but every single time it felt like they were against the heckler, and I was like, really?
This is a crazy. I
was like, feeling. You don't like this person?
Yeah.
You're not lauding them for the gall.
Well, I feel like Australia is built on hecklers.
Yeah,
like I feel like the history of Australia is. In the UK, there's people heckling in shows back in the Victorian age or whenever, and that broke the social contract.
Yeah.
So they didn't fit in. So we punished them by sending them to Australia. So it's a continent of hecklers.
Genetically, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just the part is all the hecklers from UK and Ireland have been sent to one country.
It might even happen the same amount, but it's just that the rest of the people are against it.
Yeah.
Is what is different.
Is a heckler culture.
That's interesting to me that they side against that. I couldn't believe it. That was the biggest culture shock moment.
Thanks so much for coming on today, Dan.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go over to the Patreon now, but this is the main episode. Thank you very much for coming on. Normally we plug kind of things that you got a special potentially coming out at some point. Do you have anything you want to plug to our listeners?
I don't know when it's happening. We'll see, but it'll be on.
Well, yeah, because I guess normally at the end of a podcast, you'd have like a comedian would plug his socials, he'd plug things out. But then, so is there anything you'd want to say?
No, I don't have anything on the horizon. I'm looking forward to just not doing anything for a year.
So Dan's
going back on welfare.
Dan's probably not going to do anything for a year. So there's no way to find him anywhere.
There's no content.
There's no content. So this is
I'm a digital ghost.
This is it for Dan. I'm merely a ghost whisperer. I'm an exorcist. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll be back with normal episodes next week. Have a good time. Do you have anything to say to my listeners?
Keep listening.
Keep listening. You heard that from
Keep
Dan
your ears
himself.
peeled.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.